About it. I've been to Israel many times. I opened Yad Vashem. I flew to Israel on Air Force One for President Bush. What most people don't know about me is I worked for the government for many years. I ran a company that the United States formed. I helped write the enabling legislation. It was called FIREA. Most of you will know it, the name under the Resolution Trust Corporation. Some people called it the Savings and Loan Bailout. I closed in 5 years 1,946 banks. 1,946 banks. Every bank that closed on Friday was reopened on Monday morning. Not a single one was not. Not a single one. The purpose of the Resolution Trust Corporation and FIREA, because I helped write the enabling legislation. I wasn't a member of Congress. I've never run for office in a federal type of position. That was a big advice from Max Fisher. If you want to be involved in politics and do good, don't run for office. I accept Ella as a different politician. She's an outstanding politician and understands the responsibility of politics. The man we're here endorsing tonight understands the responsibility of politics. I've known Adam a long time, probably longer than most. I've known him longer than his wife, but I've known her longer than I knew Adam. So I go way back. My involvement in things political goes so far back that it's hard for me to even bring them up. But it's interesting. I'm the only last founding member of AIPAC in the entire United States. AIPAC was formed in 1956. There were 44 men and 2 women at that first meeting in New York. I flew up from Miami to go to that meeting. That meeting was designed solely to establish a group of people who were interested in supporting Israel on a bipartisan basis. Let me tell you today, I've been a member of AIPAC ever since. AIPAC is the strongest lobbying group of any group in the United States. There isn't a single member of Congress that won't tell you the same story. And that's just the truth. I've been involved in politics a long time, but never as a candidate. I ran a lot of elections. I was vice chairman of Jeb Bush's first campaign for governor, which he lost, as a matter of fact. I did Ileana Ros-Lehton's first campaign, and every campaign since. This is her 12th campaign. She's been the most powerful chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee ever in the history of the United States. She's Jewish. She's Jewish. I registered her and her mother and father when she was 7 years old. They came from Havana. I was in charge of the indoctrination of the Cubans in the United States in Miami, because that's where they all came. And she was 7 years old. The reason I knew she was Jewish when they came over, even though she didn't, is her mother, who didn't speak much English at all. When we asked the question of religion, she said to me, "I'm Catholic Jewish." I know it's sort of funny, but the whole issue of asking religion was sort of funny in those days. We only had 2 people who spoke Spanish. Both of them were not Spanish, and they were not Cubans. So their Spanish was book Spanish, a lot different than Cuban Spanish. Anyway, it was an interesting phenomenon because Ileana's mother was Jewish. And when her father and I talked afterwards, and I asked him, what does Catholic Jewish mean? He said, my mother and father wouldn't let me marry a Jewish woman. So my wife converted to Catholicism. That's not meant to be bad or good. It's just a statement of fact. But what it did do was convince me, because I'm a Jew, and I understand Judaism, that meant that Ileana Ross was a Jew. Because if you're born of a Jewish mother, as most of you know, you're Jewish. In the Jewish religion, and for most part, people now understand, if your mother was Jewish, you're Jewish. Ileana's been spectacular. I was Marco Rubio's chairman when he ran for the Senate. He had an 8% approval rating when we started the campaign. 8%. I don't have to tell you. He's not only a remarkable man, a remarkable senator, but he will go far in politics. And because he understands the privilege of living in America better than most, because his mother and father taught him the privilege of America. It's a privilege to live in this country. I've traveled in every single country in the world. There isn't a country in the world I haven't been to. What we take for granted in America is the luxury of the world. The luxury of the world. When you go into a Publix department store and see not 1 or 2 cans of peas, but maybe 40. When you go into a shoe store and ask for shoes your size, you get 50 branches and designs. Go anywhere in America, and there's a multitude of opportunity. That's what's at risk right now in this country under the Obama administration. Trust me, it's much more significant, much more serious than most of the people in this room or any room understand. And it's the truth. It is serious. It is serious because this whole concept of class distinction is what Germany was all about. When 13 million people were killed. 6 million Jews, 6,300,000 Jews. But the rest of them were gypsies and other religions. But there's no exemption. There's no hiding. That's what we have to protect in this country. That's what you have to protect. That's why you have a candidate like an Adam Hasner. You have to put him in office. It's not even a question. Adam understands what the responsibilities are of a politician. It took me a long time to understand it because I really worked hard in the roles I took. And of course, I didn't mention my office was in the White House for 3.5 years. I had a very strong relationship with 2 presidents. One was a Democrat. I was the highest ranking Republican that he ever appointed. It was Clinton. And this forthcoming election is going to be no easy chore. Trust me. People think we're just going to win. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be a fight from the beginning to the end. We're not even sure how much money is going to be brought into the Obama campaign from out of the country. I could trust me. I could tell you without question. It's going to be in the millions. It was in the millions 3.5 years ago. But it comes from Canada, comes from Central and South America, some from Mexico, into Canada, from Canada into businesses in the United States. Impossible to trace. So this election, in my opinion, having been a delegate of the Republican Party for 14 conventions, including this one in Tampa, I could tell you is the most important election in the history of the United States, bar none. Bar none. If you want to really understand what's at risk here, just think about the words I've said. What's at risk here is you and me and your children and your children's children. The reason we have between 12 or maybe 11 and 15 aliens illegal in this country is because they understand that this country offers them the kinds of things that wherever they came from wasn't available. And it isn't available anywhere in the world. I flew 320,000 miles last year. And I'm pretty old to be flying a long time. As most of you know, I'm a licensed jet pilot. I'm not allowed to fly without a licensed pilot, a lot younger than I am, but that's the rules and it's okay. But I can tell you that America is a unique place to live. It's an honor to be an American. The problem with the President of the United States now is he really doesn't recognize the honor of being an American. I don't want to call him a communist. I certainly can call him with ease a socialist at best. I've met with the President of the United States on 3 occasions. The first occasion It was because he asked me to come to Washington because he had a big position for me. It's no secret, the position was the president of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Those of you who know anything about the banking industry will understand the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation guarantees a certain amount of money in every federal bank in the United States and most state banks. Some states don't require it. Florida does. Every state bank in Florida has to have FDIC insurance. It's now $200,000 per account. The reason the banks need to be under controls is for one reason only, and that's because they lend your money, not their money. So there's a lot of things that can be done. And with all of that, I really want to tell you, I thank you so very much for allowing me to say a few words to you, to bring to you the importance of the forthcoming election, and to be privileged to allow Larry now to move on with the program. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Stanley. That was terrific. It was very enlightening, and we appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us. I can't say I have a resume quite as good as yours, but I was okay at basketball. That's about it. Before I introduce our speaker, I was just going to share with you an interesting thing I saw this week on Fox News. It was Dana Perino. She was interviewing someone who was in the Marines, and she said to him, she says, did you have to learn, because he went on a lot of tours in a lot of different countries, she says, did you have to learn a lot of different languages to go to all these different countries that you went to? He said, not really, we don't go there to talk. And by the way, another interesting thing, you guys may not know this, but you know, when Obama first entered the Oval Office, he walked in, he took a deep breath, he looked at that chair, he says, I can't believe it. He goes, this is where Jimmy Carter did his magic. Anyhow, I want to just say thank you to everybody because you helped make this a terrific event. I couldn't have done this without you guys here. And you know, we've raised a lot of money for Adam tonight. Your dollars are your soldiers, and you're really sending them to war for the right guy. I'm proud to say that on our spreadsheet we have raised over $95,000 for him tonight, with a couple of patch checks. Thank you to you. It's all about you guys. I mean, you know, we couldn't do it without you. With our patch checks, we're going to break $100,000 hopefully within the next few days when they come in. And by the way, that's going to also help Adam qualify for a bonus from the Young Guns Fund that's going to give him an additional $100,000 for making his mark this quarter, which the fiscal quarter ends on Saturday for the FEC. And thanks to you guys, Adam did it. So I congratulate you for your help. And remember what I said about every Republican is crucial. Remember, Obamacare passed by 2 votes. One more, we wouldn't be talking about this today. Okay? But I want you to know you're backing a terrific guy. And Adam's going to show us what true champions eat for breakfast, the competition. Because we know that second place is first to lose, and Adam's not going to do that. He's got a tough race ahead of him. His opponent is definitely a vicious attacker, and my money is definitely on Adam. He's been endorsed by John Boehner, Eric Cantor, Jeb Bush, and Marco Rubio. He was actually Jeb and Marco's first candidate that they endorsed was Adam. So I think that pretty much says it all. He's got a terrific resume. Many of you here are doctors. He's worked hand in hand with physicians and hospitals for the last 15 years. And he's just an absolutely terrific guy. He's been in the Florida House for 8 years. For the last 4 years, he was the majority leader under Marco Rubio. And many of you know him probably even better than I do. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest of the hour, Adam Hasner. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody.